I went and found the best and most controversial Am I the post from this week for you. And today, you and me, we're going to do a little judging. What's the tea? What's the drama of the week? So without further ado, let's hop into it. Am I the for canceling on family vacation after my newly widowed mom decides to bring her new boyfriend? My dad lost his 1.5-year battle with cancer 1 year ago at only 62 years old. He and my mom were married for 31 years. The few months before my dad got sick, he and my mom were not on great terms and were contemplating divorce. However, through my dad's diagnosis and extreme ups and downs of treatment, they came together, squashed some of their issues, and my mom was there to care for my dad every step of the way. I miss him every day. Me and my mom have always been pretty close, but since my dad died, I feel like I'm seeing and talking to her less and less these days, and it makes me sad. In August of 2022, 4 months after my dad passed, my mom started seeing someone. She'd call him her friend, slip in mentions of him in every conversation, but I personally wanted nothing to do with him. Still don't. I thought it was too soon, and I told her so. Everyone grieves differently, and dating after losing a spouse is hard, but conversations I've attempted with this guy and the chemistry between them has been super awkward in my opinion. I feel like she's disregarding any feelings or pushback that me, my sister, and extended family have about this relationship. She has now started bringing him to events and parties, and there's an awkward vibe when he's around. Nobody wants to say it out loud. This past week, he showed up unexpectedly at our family Easter party at my parents' house. My mom knew he was coming and did not mention to anyone. Following tradition, we stood in prayer before we ate dinner, and my uncle prayed out loud for those who we have lost. And I felt so awkward that my mom's boyfriend was there, holding hands with my family as we talked about my dad. In my dad's house, almost only a year to the day that he died. We are now booking flights for a large family vacation in June. Condo has already been booked for months, and my mom casually mentioned at Easter that she's bringing her boyfriend. I didn't hear this at the time and found out later from a cousin. I immediately called and told her my feelings about him going. I don't want him to. And she completely changed the subject and did not acknowledge what I told her at all. Not to mention, we had decided to leave a day early to save money on flights. But now that her boyfriend is going, it will actually cost me more because we will no longer be splitting the costs that we had originally planned since they will be doing things separately. Money is not the problem though. It's now principle to me. Of the 20 family members that will be on this trip, not one person really wants him to be there except her. He will be staying in the same condo, and we are going to have to tiptoe around this awkward situation for an entire week while we should be relaxing and enjoying family time together. Am I the asshole for wanting to cancel on the family vacation and or stick to my guns about not wanting her boyfriend to go even though she already booked his flight? This one's actually only 3 days old, but they already labeled her the asshole, which I actually completely disagree with. This could be a very controversial opinion, but the second you decide to take care of a kid, that is your new number one priority for ever. Don't get me wrong, I want to be sympathetic to the mom, and I get how this can build up to the level that it has. 31 years of marriage, already on the verge of divorce. Probably been a long time since she's had to act on proper etiquette of introducing a new partner into the lives of family and friends. But still, when you have kids, those kids need to be number one priority. If they're not feeling it, if they're not comfortable with it, you have to listen to that. I've seen time and time again with friends, parents that don't prioritize their kids and ruin the relationships with their kids when they do stuff like this, when they get divorced, when they get a significant other and they don't introduce them properly. It sounds like the mom's doing a terrible job at it, being extremely insensitive about how she's delivering everything, especially with the dad dying so recently. I'm gonna go with not the asshole. If she was telling me this personally, I would tell her, stick to your guns, keep fighting for an actual family vacation. Very curious to see what the commenters have said though. You're the asshole. Sounds like your mom put aside the reason she wanted to divorce your dad to be there for him in his time of need and to honor their 31 years together. I'm sure you've read on Reddit how many men abandon their spouses when they get diagnosed with cancer. Your mom stayed until the end for him even though the marriage was done. She stayed with him through his cancer and helped him, and now what? You're mad that she has a chance at happiness again? How many years of her life does she have to sacrifice before you decide it's okay for her to be happy? 1 to 2 years to nurse him, 1 year to grieve. That's already at least 3 years of sacrifice for an older woman who wanted to be free and have a better life. It doesn't matter what you think of her boyfriend. My own mom is dating someone I don't like, but I'm not going to say shit because he makes her happy. And yes, I'm going on an awkward family trip with them. Be a better child to your mom, goddamn. I don't know. I understand what this commenter is saying, and I don't think they're wrong necessarily. I just am a firm believer that your kids come first. If you have kids, like, you have to put them first. And if they're hurt because you moved on too fast, talk with them through that, work on it together, and slowly ease them into it. Because, like, those are your kids, bro. This one's really controversial. Some of you guys might agree with me. Some of you might not. Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your guys' opinions on this. And while you're there, if you could hit that subscribe button, would really appreciate that. Am I the asshole for firing my bridesmaid for disclosing her diagnosis at my bachelorette? I'm getting married in 3 weeks, and I just had my bachelorette over Easter weekend. During a quiet moment, one of my bridesmaids took me aside and told me that about 3 months ago, she was diagnosed with fetal alcohol syndrome. If you don't know what fetal alcohol syndrome is, it's when you're exposed to alcohol before you were born, aka your mom be drinking. Obviously, I asked her what that meant for her, and she started crying because she feels differently about her relationship with her mother. We met in elementary school, and she's always had a learning disability, but she didn't know that there was a preventable cause. My other bridesmaids noticed her crying, and the evening ended up being about her. We skipped out on going to a bar in the limo I had hired because she was upset. I thought about it all today and ended up emailing her to tell her that she took away an important moment from my life. I feel bad about this happening to her, but even though she didn't always know, it's been going on her whole life. If this was a recent thing she found out about, or it was some kind of deadly disease, I would feel differently, but she was sitting on this for months before bringing it up at an event that was supposed to be special to me. You only get one bachelorette, and mine was totally overshadowed. I felt really hurt that she did that, and I told her that I didn't want to have her in my wedding if that's how she's going to treat me at a time where the focus was supposed to be something good in my life instead of something sad in hers. She could have waited a few more weeks until after the wedding if she wanted to have this conversation. She's still invited to the wedding, but I don't want her to be a bridesmaid after this. I was texting my cousin, my maid of honor, and she disagreed with me doing this. She said that it sucked we didn't go to the bar, but this other friend has already paid for her dress, so I should just let her stay. My fiance supports my choice, but I wanted another opinion. Am I the asshole? I'm very curious to read the comments because they labeled this an everyone sucks. Honestly though, bro, I'm gonna have to go with not the asshole. I'm not like a huge like, this is my birthday, it has to be but like, I get it why people are like that. And especially for something like this, where it's your wedding, I totally can understand being like, yo bro, that was about me and you made it about you. Not very cash money. I don't know, this might be terrible, but I also agree with her about it's not like a deadly disease. Yes, it's awful, don't get me wrong. But bro, if you're gonna ruin my party, like at least ruin it with like terminal cancer. I'm sorry, that was so out of pocket. You guys can cancel me. Yeah, I can understand why she'd be pissed, and if her reaction is, I don't want you to be a bridesmaid anymore, like, suck it up, Chuck. This is her wedding. Let me read the comments, and then we're gonna go, there's an update on this one. Everyone sucks here. I get it, she found out months ago and waited until the night to say anything, took the attention, and you lost out on the money you paid. It was completely understandable to be hurt and frustrated, but you didn't need to cut her from the wedding. That was retaliation, pure and simple. You could have called her and opened up the door to have an honest conversation about how you felt and allow her to respond. This would have shown compassion and grace. Instead, you made a decisive decision because your feelings were hurt. It is your wedding, but she is also a close enough friend where you asked her to be a bridesmaid and she deserved that conversation before you decided to push her out. I would absolutely apologize to her and realize that in this case, you've both been shitty to each other. Am I shallow? Am I dick? Maybe it was kind of a snap reaction, but like if her gut is truly telling her like, hey, yo, this girl does not deserve to be in my wedding because she fucked up, like, I don't know. I don't feel like she's the asshole. I want to stick to my guns here. I don't feel like she's the asshole. This is her wedding. She gets to choose what she wants. Update, for those wondering, I had actually seen her on 2 occasions since her diagnosis, including getting coffee one-on-one a week after it happened, where she could have told me. It was the fact that she waited until my event to tell me and then derailed it that had me so upset. I hadn't considered the fact that everyone pre-drinking might have set her off. After reading a bunch of comments here, I called her. I asked why she hadn't told me before, and she said she was still trying to process when I had previously seen her. She didn't realize she was going to cry so much and distract everyone and ruin the mood. That is true. She tried to pull her aside. I forgot about that. But then also, it's kind of her responsibility to have the awareness to be like, no, we're not. This isn't about me. This is about the bride, and then changing the focus. She said she felt really horrible about doing that, and she hadn't meant to ruin the evening. I apologized for acting on my own hurt feelings and asked if she'd be willing to consider still being a bridesmaid. She said she really wanted to still be in the wedding. I don't have the budget to have another bachelorette party, but I realized that I was only making that loss worse by hurting an old friend in addition to losing out on an event. I was definitely attributing her behavior to malice when it was actually bad timing. Back in high school, she did a similar thing to me because she was jealous of the attention I was getting as part of a competitive choir, but she's grown up since. We're 23 and 24 now. I overreacted, and I honestly appreciate the tough love from the sub. It made me reconsider what I was doing and probably just saved a friendship. All right, well, apparently I'm just a dickhead, but let me know in the comments what you guys think. I'm gonna stick to my guns here. Definitely the asshole. Or wait, definitely not the asshole. Yeah, that's how you brain. Am I the asshole for hiding vegetables in my boyfriend's food? I'm gonna say this right now. Girl, you're dating a child. I, 28 female, have been with my boyfriend, 36 female. I think that's 36 male. We're just gonna keep going. For a year, and we moved in together about 4 months ago. One of the first things I noticed about my boyfriend was that he never really ate vegetables. He would sometimes eat them if we were out at a restaurant and they came as part of his meal, but he never ate them when I cooked for him. Originally, I thought that maybe my cooking was the problem, so I asked him if he enjoyed my food, and he told me he loves my cooking. On nights I didn't cook for him, he ate exclusively frozen foods and never ate the vegetables in those either. Naturally, he has some health issues, vitamin deficiencies, etc. He had phrased it to me as if he was somehow just genetically unlucky. I believed it for a while because I don't know how that stuff works, but eventually it became clear to me it's because he voluntarily eats vegetables like once a month. 6 months ago, I started hiding vegetables in my cooking. If I was making pasta, I'd put the vegetables in that I'd usually put in for myself, then take half out and blend it so he wouldn't notice the vegetable chunks. And then I'd tell him I'd just scoop the vegetables out of his portion. This happens more often now that we live together because I do all the cooking. He's been telling me a lot lately. He's been feeling a lot better the past few months and has even had his doctor reduce the dosage of some of his medications, and he hasn't had to take his multivitamin in weeks. I kept my mouth shut because I'm just glad he's feeling better, and it really does me no harm to hide the vegetables in his food. Yesterday, I was making one of our regular pasta meals. It's one that's very easy to hide at least 4 vegetables in, and I was about to blend my boyfriend's portion when the blender died mid-blend. I had to serve it in all its vegetable chunk glory. My boyfriend refused to eat the vegetables, but when he tasted the sauce, he said it's weird how it tastes the exact same, even though this one has vegetables in it. So I confessed. He screamed at me and called me a controlling and said that it's none of my business if he thinks vegetables don't do anything. Once again, for the memes, you're dating a child. I pointed out, he said he felt better. He said his health was none of my business and that I'm a controlling, judgy asshole, and stormed out of our apartment to stay with his sister. His sister texted me to say he's fine, but she agrees with him. Dude, is this family just like anti-veggie? They're like the Nazis, but for vegetables? No, that was a bad joke. I apologize. My friend agreed it's ridiculous and he didn't eat vegetables, but I agree. Am I being the asshole? I mean, okay, so the subreddit labeled her not the asshole. I'm not trying to be a controversial bitch, but I kind of want to say they are the asshole here. Coming from a control freak, this is a little controlling, and you shouldn't do that. I know my behavior, I shouldn't do a lot of it. This isn't a therapy session for me, okay? I'm trying to make a YouTube video. But what I will say is, like, bro, you couldn't find a boyfriend that didn't act like a child. This definitely sounds like a guy who would support Andrew Tate. Alpha males don't eat vegetables, okay? We eat the tears of liberals. Am I the asshole for not letting my nephew bring his service dog to my wedding? I, 27 female, am getting married in a few months to my fiance, 28 male. We have been planning our dream wedding for over a year, and everything is finally falling into place. However, there is one issue that has been causing quite a bit of controversy in our family. My nephew, 18 male, James, has a service dog, Max, for his anxiety and panic attacks. Max is a well-trained and well-behaved dog, and he has been a great help to James over the years. However, I am severely allergic to dogs, to the point where I could have a severe reaction if I am around them for an extended period of time. This is something my family is well aware of. When we sent out the invitations for the wedding, we made it clear there will be a strict no pets policy due to my allergies. Is it normal for people to bring animals to wedding? I've never been to a wedding where they're like, hey, yo, let me bring Fido. James and his parents approached us and asked if Max could be an exception, as he is a service dog and not just a pet. They assured us that Max would be on his best behavior and that he would not cause any problems. As much as I understand the importance of Max to James, I had to say no. My wedding day is supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life, and I do not want to risk having a severe allergic reaction during the ceremony or reception. I explained this to James and his parents, and I offered to help find alternative accommodations for Max during the wedding. However, my decision has caused a lot of controversy in the family. Some of my relatives believe that I am being selfish and inconsiderate, while others understand my point of view and support my decision. James is understandably upset, and I feel terrible about the situation. So, am I the asshole for not allowing my nephew to bring his service dog to my wedding? I'm agreeing with the subreddit finally, not the asshole for sure. Her wedding, her way. I think that if she wants you to be naked at the wedding, don't go if you don't want to be naked. That's how I see it, bro. This might be the asshole in me, but for anxiety and panic attacks, like, I've never met someone who has a service dog for anxiety or panic attacks that can't function without it. It's just like a compliment, okay? If he was blind and this dog was literally there to lead him, maybe I'd understand. Sorry, nephew, but in a showdown between your attendance and the bride being able to breathe at her own wedding, the bride wins. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for asking my roommate to leave the room while crying over her breakup with her boyfriend so I could sleep? I'm a college freshman and I opted to go for a random roommate. I was matched with this girl, Donna. By the way, these are all fake names. And so far, we've gotten along pretty well. Donna has a boyfriend, Malcolm, who she's constantly on the phone with from the time she wakes up until the time she goes to sleep. A few weeks ago, I wanted to go to sleep early since I had an 8 a.m. midterm the next day. I told Donna this in advance and she said she'd be quiet. I fell asleep at about 9:30. However, at around 1 a.m., I woke up to the sound of Donna crying. Literal screaming, like someone had just died. I immediately got out of bed and went over to her and asked her what was wrong, thinking something horrible had just happened. It took me a little bit to get it out of her, but she managed to tell me that Malcolm had just broken up with her over text. I felt awful for her. No one deserves that. And spent a while trying to comfort her, but she wouldn't calm down at all. She just kept sobbing and sobbing very loudly, which is very understandable since it was my understanding they had been together for a while. Here's where I might be the asshole though. Eventually, it started to get closer to 2:30 a.m. and Donna still wasn't calming down, but I needed my sleep since I had a midterm in 5 hours. So I suggested we both go to sleep and revisit it later. She just looked at me like I was insane and asked if I really expected her to sleep and then kept crying. I knew it was unlikely she'd calm down anytime soon, so I very gently asked her if she could leave the room until she was able to calm down a bit so I could sleep. Again, Donna just looked at me like I was crazy and didn't say anything, just kept crying. I repeated myself, again, being as nice as possible, that she could go to the bathroom or the laundry room to compose herself and come back when she was ready. Finally, she just got up without looking at me and stomped out, still crying. And I just went back to sleep. When I woke up for my midterm, she was back in her bed and sleeping, but since then, she's hardly said a word to me. Note, I couldn't go to a friend's dorm to spend the night since A, most of my friends live in dorms that are farther away, and I don't want to walk by myself in the city at night, and B, I wouldn't want to bother them on such short notice. However, I still feel terrible about what happened since she was going through a lot, and I'd really appreciate outside perspective. So the subreddit labeled her not the asshole. Definitely gonna agree with that. Coming from someone who's been in a relatively similar situation and did not ask them to leave the room, absolutely not the asshole. Not even close. That like freshman year of college time where you're like literally sharing a space with someone for an entire year is so hard to navigate. I do have to say it's not that great to go to a laundry room or to a like study room to go cry, but you're sharing a space with somebody, you have to be very respectful of it. And if this gal was like, hey, I have a midterm, you should respect that. Unless you've fallen off of your lofted bed and snapped your neck and you need your roommate to take you to the hospital, that would be understandable. But if not, figure it out, bro. All right, guys, that wraps it up for me. If you made it to the end of the video, would appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. Go check out another one of my videos. I will see y'all next week.